Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Hackman. I'm a reporter covering immigration policy with the Wall Street Journal. And I'm really pleased to be joined by Tom Linebarger today. He's the CEO of Cummins. Cummins is a Fortune 150 company based in Southern Indiana that manufactures engines. It's been there for over 100 years. And Tom is actually only the company's sixth CEO. He joined in 1993 as an intern on the manufacturing line and has worked his way up from there. Um, the company has a long history of sort of getting involved in social justice. In 1963, the company's CEO then actually got involved in the March on Washington with Martin Luther King. And Tom himself has really taken on immigration as an area of advocacy. He's written op-eds. He's actually traveled to Washington to talk about, different aspects of business's need for immigration, particularly on Dreamers and supporting DACA. Thanks so much for joining us, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. So let's start, Tom. I'd love for you to articulate for us, why immigration is so critical to your business here in the US.
Yeah, we are a highly technical company. The products we produce are the highest level of technology, especially now where with climate change and other environmental challenges, our products need to deliver the most important products to market. They basically drive the economy. And yet we have to do that with less. We have to figure out a way to do all the same amount of work, if not more, to feed the planet, but to do it in a way that does not consume as many resources or does not put so much CO2 in the atmosphere. And that is, essentially the existential crisis of our time. And that is a really technical challenge. So we need all the talent we can get applied to that mission. We've made it the mission of our company. We put everyone to work on that challenge. And we just need the best minds in the world working on it. And we do it globally. Like it doesn't really help to only work on climate change in one country. We need to produce the best products that work for our customers and consume less in every country in the world for this to work. And so we need talent that can speak every language. We need talent that can understand the technical and consumer challenges in every market. And so that's a pretty significant talent challenge. And that's the way I see it. I feel like I'm competing for the best talent in the world. And that means I need to be able to attract and retain the best talent wherever and whenever I can find them.
So, Tom, we're dealing today with a pretty technical audience of immigration experts. So can you be a little bit more specific for us around, what are the types of roles that you're needing to fill with immigrants? Is it, sort
Yeah.
of top land engineers? Yeah.
Michelle, we hire a wide range, of course, of talent, both manufacturing workers, all the way to engineers and marketing people, you name it. We hire in every function, but about half the people we hire are engineers. So if you just think about our primary hiring challenge, it's engineering in the salaried ranks. And about 70% of STEM graduates that are PhDs, of which we hire many, are immigrants. I mean, they're essentially here from another country. And roughly 50% of STEM graduates that are master's degree are from another country. So that means that we are looking at a talent pool to hire that is made up in large part from people from another country. And it actually serves us well, not only because, of course, they're great talent, but because we need to be able to deploy talent all over the world, and we need to speak a lot of languages to do that, and we need to be able to relate to people all over the world. So our customer base is in the United States. Half of our business in the United States is in the United States, but half isn't. So we have a big challenge globally. So I think when I think about immigration, what I think about is we need to bring a lot of technical talent in. Most of them are STEM graduates, and many of them start from another country, and where they're going to work the rest of their life is not clear at the time of hiring.
Busy man.
Sorry for that. Anyway, but most of that is not clear at the time of hiring. So we like to just bring in the best talent, and then we figure out from there where they're going to deploy. So that's a primary. That's our primary. But we hire a lot of other immigrants. We have a large number of DACA people that work for our company, and they're in all kinds of ranks. I mean, they're all over the company, but they're all doing really important work for the company. We only hire people with talent and values that are going to be additive to our communities and society. That's like the critical element we look for in talent. And so we make sure that the people we hire have that talent, and we find that in immigrants as well as people that were born in the United States.
Can you articulate for us, are you, when you're hiring, are you just looking for the best people regardless of how difficult it is maybe to get them a visa or something like that? Or, is there a specific challenge with attracting Americans to come live in, Columbus, Indiana?
Yeah. Well, we do our headquarters is in Columbus, Indiana, and there are people that think it's a great place to live and want to raise their family there. But we also have operations in many other communities. So I feel like we can attract people to work for the company based on where we are and how we operate. I just think that our view is that we want to hire the best talent, and that we will help that talent become members of you're part of the United States if that's what their goals are, or we'll help deploy them to another country if that's what their goals are. So we're really just searching talent. And so, as I mentioned to you, when we look in the pools of talent that we're trying to attract, there are a lot of people born outside the US in those pools. That's just the fact today.
Right.
And so we're not really trying to say, well, if you're an immigrant, we're going to give you an advantage, nor are we saying, if you're not an immigrant, we're going to give you an advantage. So we pretty much attract it, do it neutrally. I will say that we are an attractive company to people, though, that are born outside the United States, because we aren't going to discriminate against you as a potential hire. And also, we're going to give you an opportunity to work potentially globally. So if one thing you want to do eventually is work in the country you were born, that's a possibility with Cummins. And frankly, that attracts a lot of people because that seems like a potential exciting career for them.
I have to ask you, we at the Wall Street Journal have been writing a lot about remote work and how the pandemic has changed how a lot of us think about where we need to be based. Sorry. Has that changed your thinking at all on whether it's, important to sponsor an engineer to come live in the United States rather than having them work in the country of their choosing, where it might be easier to do their immigration paperwork?
Not yet. It hasn't, Michelle. I think it is going to impact things. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like all work is changing now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to say that we fully understand how it's all going to change, I think would be probably immodest. But there's no question that everything is being put back in the table to say, like, how much do we need to work in an office? Where can we work from? What work do we need to do together? We're trying to figure that out. I do find that there's work where face-to-face collaboration works better, work where being on your own and nobody bothering you is way better, and then a lot in between. And it's not clear all the time which is which. And so I think we have a lot of work to do there. What I think is most important here, though, is that we need talent with the right values, the right energy level, the right ability to work in teams to solve complicated problems wherever they are. We want to apply that talent, and there isn't enough talent, we think, ready and willing to do the work we want to do unless we are an attractive place to work. So we want to attract all here. And I think the US, separate from what happens to Cummins, the US wins when we attract the best talent in the world to work for US companies. It's just that simple. We all get wealthier, we all get more successful. So I think our goals align with US goals really well, because we think by attracting talent, building our business, we offer more jobs, more success, and those jobs deploy, through our plant in Seymour, Indiana, where we hire, hundreds and hundreds of manufacturing workers, all the way through to tech centers that we hire in. So it's a positive cycle when we think about what's really happening with hiring people that were born outside the United States and eventually become really successful citizens of the United States, and or go to work for us in another country, and that also helps us.
I want to come back to your advocacy in a moment, but the story of the US not producing enough engineers to work at companies like yours is pretty well known. But I'm curious if you could speak to your manufacturing base and how many immigrants you hire sort of for those ranks, and whether you've had a particular challenge hiring recently with this sort of labor shortage we're facing.
Yeah, we do have a number of immigrants in our manufacturing plants, but it's
Hmm.
more regional. It tends to be a function of what the hiring pool looks like in the local region. Some years ago, I
Hmm.
ran a division of ours that makes generator sets based in Minneapolis. It's actually based in Fridley, Minnesota, just north of Minneapolis, and there
Hmm.
were a lot of Somalian immigrants that had come over after the war in Somalia, and the U.S. had placed many of them in Minneapolis, and so
Yes.
a number of them worked at our factory, and that was I mean a large number, and they worked on second shift, which was the least popular shift. It turns out that as recent immigrants, they were willing to work on that shift when others
What
would
is
not.
that the night shift?
It's actually sort of the night shift. It's kind of the in between. It's where you start in the late in the afternoon and you
Hmm.
work into till midnight. And the reason it's kind of terrible is because your family, it's difficult to see your family because it's dinner time and that's you see your children and things.
Right.
It's a challenging shift from a family point of view. But the
Right.
point is that we had a lot of immigrants then in the plant, but you'll see some plants where there are very few, and it just tends to deal with
Hmm.
who works in the local catchment area. But I
Hmm.
would just say that the immigrants that have served our company in the plant demonstrated work ethics, a strong work ethic, which is what you'd expect. It's what you
Hmm.
hear about immigrant families and what we see day to day. It's not that people born in the U.S. don't work hard, but there's something about somebody who just landed here, just got an opportunity for the first time. Their family works hard to try to see if they can succeed, and they'll give it that extra effort, and we can see that in the plant. It's obvious.
Have you seen any, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but one of the challenges we've seen are from precisely those sorts of workers in the US, sort of, more low wage jobs or blue collar jobs who feel like immigrants are coming and maybe taking work from them. Have you seen any resentment from your employees for hiring immigrants?
Well, it hasn't been a broad issue, but there's no question. I see the issue in the public for sure. I read about it. And I just would
Yeah.
say in our plants, it's not there hasn't been any issues because there have, but I just say it hasn't been the biggest of issues. Just to recall this situation
Yeah.
in Fridley, Minnesota, when we had a lot of Somali immigrants, many of them were Muslim. And for many people
Hmm.
in the plant, it was the first time they'd really seen or experienced the Muslim religion or someone who was Muslim. And so a lot of their habits about praying and ablutions and things like that were new to them, and
Hmm.
so we had a lot of issues to work out with that in that regard. But I'd say once people understood it, saw who they were, saw how hard they worked, generally speaking, I can't say there weren't issues here and there, but generally speaking, they were not issues. So I find our workforce at Cummins to be, there isn't that they don't have challenges with things, but they're generally adaptive as we work through issues, and I think that has not been our biggest. But politically, I definitely see I've seen the issue you're talking about. That there's a lot of just either resistance to immigration or
Right.
like you said, people upset that people might be taking jobs or depressing wages. Yeah, one of the things that I think that's really unique and extraordinary about the U.S. is our policy on immigration. U.S. The U.S. economy has been built largely on immigrants, and there's been different phases over the history of our country. But because we've been able to grow employment over the years, we've been able to have more employees to do more work. As our economy grows, we end up all benefiting from that. I think this
Hmm.
is in the debate, the part that's missing is that our entire country and our entire economy was built on immigrants, and it's really what makes us different and extraordinary relative to other countries. I spend a lot of time traveling to other countries,
Hmm.
and there's wonderful things about all of them, but the US is extraordinary because we have so much immigration. And that's what makes us special. That's what makes our economy more robust. That's what makes us more creative, harder working, et cetera. So to lose that would be to lose the secret ingredient to the United States. It's not the thing
Hmm.
that's made us worse, it's the thing that's made us better. This is what I say.
Tom, we've just talked about a whole myriad of issues that your company is facing where you feel like immigrants can help. I've noticed that in your advocacy For example, you wrote an op-ed in the Indianapolis Star advocating specifically to pass a law helping the Dreamers. Why did you focus specifically on the Dreamers? Why did you start there?
I think the reason that I feel so strongly about the Dreamers, of course, I've spoken to a lot of them and heard their stories of growing up in the U.S., basically feeling American, spent their entire childhood in America, did everything they could do to do their schoolwork, get ahead, and then to reach some moment where they're contributing to the United States in a significant way. Again, these people all work for Cummins and do great work at Cummins, and then to say, well, you're not welcome here anymore. And honestly, for no obvious reason. Like there's nothing that they did to violate anything. And it's so not only do I think it's bad for our country because we lose a fantastic worker and fantastic contributor to our community, it's just deeply unfair. I think that's what really feels so wrong to me. It's a group of people that we're using as a political football for broader issues, and it's just time to stop. Like it's just inhumane, it's unfair, it's un-American. These are human beings, and we should just stop using them as a political football. For whatever your ends are, just stop using these people to get there. We should just allow them to feel as welcome as we should. And I just think it just doesn't speak well for our country or our political system or our anything. So I think that's why I feel most strongly about it. Of course, I have a view on all immigration policy, and policy is always worth debating and thinking about. But the way you treat people, that should not be political football or policy discussions. It should be we always treat people well, and these people deserve to be treated the way they should be and welcome to our country. They've done everything they should do to be welcomed.
We've been talking about immigration reform for, gosh, probably at least since you started at Cummins, and you've been active in that debate for a long time. Where do you feel like this conversation has sort of gone off the rails, and what can we do differently, if anything?
Well, first of all, let me just say that it's frustratingly long. To say that it's taken a long time is just an understatement. And as you said, I've been involved for a long time, and I feel disappointed that we're not further along, to say the least. And I think that the biggest challenge has been that it is to capture the imagination of the public, to help the public see that immigration has been our strength, not our weakness. The thing that's made the country strong, built the country, so created the place that we all love, has been immigration. Yes, the immigrants have been from different countries. They've been different shades with each stage of immigration. But the fact is, it is those immigrants that help build our economy, help build our schools, help build our country, and make the country as robust as it is. It doesn't mean, of course, that there isn't some number of immigrants who will break the law, just as there are people who are born in the United States who will break the law. That will happen. But that is not the story. That is the exception that makes the rule. For the most part, immigrants have been the ones who have worked the hardest, helped us think through some of the toughest problems, the ones that have contributed. And I think that story just hasn't got through. And I do worry that, like so many other things, if somebody needs to win an election and they're looking for something to lift up that divides so that they can get some votes, that telling a story that's kind of tribal, like those people are different than these people, is a good story to tell. So, every 5, 4, 8 years, another story comes up that allows us to divide people in some way. It isn't always on immigration, it can be on something else, but that's a frequent one because it just grabs people's darker side. And so I do think all of us who have any kind of platform need to remind people that will listen to us that immigration has been our story of success, not our problem.
Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us. And I hope, you, with your continued advocacy, we can see some kind of movement going forward, because it has been a very long time in sort of stagnation.
Thank you, Michelle, very much. I really appreciate this. I do want to thank the National Immigration Forum. I would say that there's not any more important work in our country. And I'm just really grateful to the people that work on making immigration reform. For our economy, this is the thing that's going to make us go. And for our communities, welcoming immigrants will just bring the heart back to our communities. Stop dividing, start including. It'll just make our communities feel more connected the way they should. So it's a really important issue. I will give everything I have to it, and I'm really grateful to work with people who commit themselves to it.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.